What can I say? What a week it's been. You know, we've had hundreds of children every day down here fishing, families. You saw today the train was going. We've had the playgrounds filled. We've had hundreds of noxious fish, the tilapia, taken out of the lake. Really, I am so happy with the weather. The weather's been great, and what a facility we got here at Warina Lakes. The kids are having fun and at the same time learning about tilapia, and so many prizes. We've had just great sponsors this year, and a special prize on Sunday. Anybody can come down to Warina Lakes and win a kayak that was donated by Ozfish and BCF. It's very successful. You know, look, everything coming together, school holidays. The tilapia were great on Monday, you know, over 360 tilapia caught Monday. I really think all in all, it's been a fantastic event.
Fellow councillors, staff and residents viewing via live stream, good morning all and welcome. I acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of the land on which this meeting is being held and pay my respect to the elders, past, present and emerging. Would you please be upstanding, and Pastor Mark Dewar from the Cassowary Coast Uniting Church will deliver the opening prayer. Pastor.
Thank you. And just before I pray, I'd just like to also acknowledge that the Innisfail Council of Clergy, the Tully Mission Beach Fraternal, and the monthly prayer meeting that we have in Innisfail pray for you regularly, for your good and not for your harm, just so that you might know we're for you and not against you. Okay, so let's pray. Dear wise and loving God, I thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance and for friendship, for resilience and courage that's required of each one. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and the honour of bearing the responsibilities that come with being elected to this important role. Thank you also for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. Thank you for loving us even so from your boundless and gracious nature. Lord, in the scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to obey governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I ask for your blessing on our mayor, your blessing on all our councillors, for the officials, and in particular for those who are assembled in this council here today. God, I ask that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and to do good, the ability to work together in harmony even when there's honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives and joy in their tasks. Lord, bless the agenda before these people today, this council, who serve our community. May this be a fruitful session, and may the decisions taken enhance the common good of the people they serve. May those who have been elected and gifted to serve be quick to listen and confident in their decision making. In the precious name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to apologies. Councillor Pervin and Councillor Baines are apologies today. They're attending a conference in Mackay. Are there any other apologies? I'll take that as a no. Move on to the declaration of conflict of interest. Declaration of prescribed conflict of interest or declarable conflict of interest. Please use this opportunity to make public any prescribed conflict of interest or declarable conflict of interest in respect of the items in the agenda. Councillors should use this opportunity to disclose and or comment on other councillors and or interest in accordance with the Act and the regulations. Councillors, do we have any conflicts to declare? Councillor McLeod.
Through the Chair, yes, I have a declarable conflict of interest in item 7.2, Register of Pre-Qualified Suppliers for Trade and Professional Services, as my husband works for one of those suppliers, and I'll be leaving the room for this item.
Thank you, Councillor McLeod. Any other conflicts to declare? I'll take that as a no. Okay, we move on to confirmation of the previous minutes, the 14th of October 2021. Would somebody move that there a true and accurate record, please? Councillor Millwood moved, seconded.
No, stop. So through the Chair, before we actually move those minutes, I noticed that on the live stream at item 6.3 where was written into the minutes, the register of the pre-qualified supplier for plant and trades, when Councillor Pervin did his declarable conflict of interest, that it did not clarify what his conflict of interest was, and it's actually reflected differently in the minutes, so I ask that that be amended to reflect what the actual declaration that was made on the day. Thanks. Before we do that, thank you.
That's been noted. Would somebody move? Mr. Vick would like to speak.
Sorry, that was in relation to Alan's alternative instructions. That is declaration.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. And you did state that on the day, but we know if it needs to go into the minutes, that'll happen.
No, it was written differently in the minutes to what he actually said on the live stream, that's all. It's just to clarify so that the minutes reflect what was actually said on the day.
Andrew, would you speak?
Through the chair, we can make that amendment.
That's been noted and recorded, Councillor Millward. Thank you. Okay, would somebody move that the minutes are a true and accurate record, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, seconded by Councillor Chewy. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We move on to item 2, business arising from the minutes, and Mr. Singh has come forward to make a slight clarification on one item.
Good morning all. Councillors, in relation to the agenda item 6.3, which is the register of pre-qualified suppliers for plant and truck hire, we just noted that the section of the legislation that was referenced in the report, which is 275(1)(e), actually should have been section 254J13. So I just wanted to clarify that, and my apologies for the oversight.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Everybody happy with that, councillors, in terms of that clarification? Just a different section of the Act. All right, we move on to item 3, governance, environment.
Excuse me,
Oh,
I've got some business arising.
sorry, Councillor Millward.
So through the chair, so in item 5.13, the statement made by the Mayor, I'd like to clarify for the record that after watching and listening to the live stream, while the Mayor felt the need to apologise on behalf of council, councillors and the previous council for the inaccuracies that have been made in previous statements, I'd like to make it clear that I've not and am not involved in any of these inaccuracies provided and have not had these issues discussed with me at length. I was not a part of the council which made the statement in September 2019, and the comments you refer to that have been made since by the council were in fact made by Mr. Mayor, and I do not want any responsibility for that. Thank you.
It's been noted. Thank you. We move on to item 3, governance, environment and finance, 3.1, page 17, the quarterly progress review, and Ms. Kerr will present this report. Welcome.
Good morning. Move this forward. Today before you is the first quarterly report of the 21-22 operational plan. The annual operational plan was adopted on the 10th of June, and it outlines the activities proposed to be undertaken during the financial year, which contribute to the achievement of the strategies outlined in our corporate plan. You will see in this new plan for the quarter, we have a new legend of statuses of our initiatives. Not yet commenced, at risk, on target, not proceeding, continuing into the next year, and complete. I would like to highlight that there are 3 out of the 30 initiatives that are currently identified as being at risk, and they are: number 1, to undertake the One Coast Cassowary Coast survey; number 3, to continue to improve customer satisfaction with all council services; and number 14, delivery of the Capital Works program. The report contains comments in relation to these 3 initiatives and why they are at risk at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr. Any questions? Councillor Millward.
Sorry, through the chair, yes, in the 2020-21 operational plan at item 14, where it is noted that the delivery of capital works is a concern which has been flagged, what measures are going to be implemented to reduce this concern, and have we a plan that increases the capabilities for our local contractors so that they are able to tender for these jobs, or are we opening the process of tendering to a wider sector in order to be able to deliver the projects on time and on budget?
I'll refer to the CEO to respond to this one.
Thank you.
Through the chair, thanks for the question. Look, the council is currently looking at a number of different procurement strategies. There's been a number of tenders that have been packaged up to try and attract larger contractors to tender for those works. Unfortunately, the current market at the moment with both, I guess, competition and the amount of stimulus in the current market, we are finding that either projects are or tenders are coming in above budget estimates or significantly above budget estimates, or we're not getting a response. I'm pleased to say today there are a number of items which we have received responses from local and non-local contractors for award, but there is still a risk there for the remainder of the year based on wet weather and also that current market.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any further questions for the officer? Right, somebody move the recommendation, please. Moved by Councillor McLeod, seconded by Councillor Millwood. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Kurt. We move on to item 3.2, page 32, Finance Report, and Ms Bradley will present this report.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So this morning I have for you our finance report for the month of September 2021. So the purpose of this report is to promote sound financial management and accountability by presenting our finance report and our monthly council reporting package. So council adopted the 21-22 budget on the 25th of June, which is what's reflected in this report. The report provides information and tracks council's year-to-date revenue and expenditure by department, program and by service, and also includes some financial statistical information. Some of the key highlights is the operational revenues currently sitting at 40.8 million, which is 159,000 under budget in comparison with the year-to-date budget of 40.9 million. Operating expenditure sitting at 24.9 million, which is 887,000 under budget in comparison to the year-to-date budget of 25.8 million. The end-of-month cash balance was sitting at 57.2 million. Capital expenditure for the month was 6.8 million, and year-to-date capital expenditure, including commitments, totaled 16.2 million, which represents 15% of the budget expended, excluding commitments, or 35% including commitments. Measures of financial sustainability is presented on the second page. So the operating surplus ratio is sitting at 38.9%, which is above the targeted level. But as we discussed last month, that's a result of the timing of our revenue, significant revenue coming in twice a year. Asset sustainability ratio is sitting at 42%. Target range is greater than 90%, so this is under budget, but once again, timing of capital works across the council and the capitalisation process. Net financial liabilities ratio is sitting at minus 103%, which is within the targeted range, which is meant to be less than 60%. The third page gives a table of how we're travelling year to date. The key variances to note on this report is firstly with fees and charges, which are currently 179,000 over budget, so we've received more revenue than we had budgeted. So we have additional building fees, certificates, water and camping fees generated year to date, offset by reduced meeting room venue hire under budget by 18,000. Interest in this report is tracking 146,000 under budget relating to outstanding rates. The processing of the interest revenue and alignment to budget is currently under review due to when this is posted, and the item is also being closely monitored to identify and has been identified as a budget risk in relation to interest on investments. Internal revenue and internal expenditure, there are variances in both due to a delay in the delivery of new waste plant, which was expected to come through as internal plant hire, but due to the delay in that delivery, we've had to use external plant hire. As well as a monthly journal for September wasn't processed prior to this report running, so that has also influenced that variance. Employee expenditure, sitting 262,000 over budget. So this is the timing of on-cost recoveries, as well as overtime in delivery services and infrastructure and casuals in libraries. Contract labour is sitting over budget by 80,000 due to backfilled positions in transport, parks, transfer stations and in WHS. Materials and services is tracking under budget by just over 800,000 due to insurance savings that were found further than what we had budgeted for, reduced contractor expenditure for landscaping, cleaning, electrical and green waste, reduced chemical purchases across water, sewerage and swimming pools, as well as reduced fuel usage and maintenance expenditure year to date. And internal expenditure I have spoken about already. Capital grants, currently over budget due to DRFA grant that's been received for Upper Darragee Road, which isn't actually included in this budget that we're presenting, but we're proposing to bring in our next RB1 review. And gain on asset disposal relates to the sale of fleet plant items, as well as freehold land that's being presented there. Investment performance at the end of the month, with that 57.2 million, we had an average interest rate of 0.6% across those funds. And the table below that gives you a high-level information on capital projects, which I notice there's a capital report coming up after this, so that will be broken apart in a bit more detail. But at the moment, as I said, 15% of budget spent excluding commitments. And budget risks. So throughout the year, management monitors any budget risks that come up or that has potential to impact our result. So some of those that have been highlighted so far relate to Port Hinchinbrook Road and sewerage assets, vacant positions that we have budgeted for 3 across the organisation to be monitored, asset rationalisation, as you're all aware of, interest on investments, as we've spoken about, and NDRRA emergent works and timing of revenue recognition. Happy to take any further questions there might be.
Thank you, Ms Bradley. Any questions for the officer? If not, would somebody move the recommendation, please? Moved by Councillor McLeod, seconded by Councillor Millwood. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We now move on to item 3.3, page 47, the final audit, and Ms Bradley will present this report.
Thank you. Queensland Audit Office has advised that Council has received an unmodified audit opinion on our financial statements for the year 2020-2021. The correspondence from Grant Thornton and QAO advises Council that all audit procedures have been completed and the financial statements for the financial year 2021 have been reviewed, and QAO have issued an unmodified audit opinion. Council's financial sustainability has been assessed at a moderate risk, as one of the 3 5-year ratios are outside of the targeted range. The operating surplus ratio, as you can see in the table on this report, averaged at minus 3.08%. The targeted range is between 0 and 5%. The net financial liabilities ratio averaged at minus 32%, which is within the targeted range. The asset sustainability ratio averaged at 90.4%, which is just within the targeted range also. So the Queensland Government has issued a discussion paper on the proposed local government sustainability framework, which once established will form the basis of the Department's monitoring of Council's performance and sustainability. This will assist the Department in providing more targeted support, and the proposed framework will have future implications on how Council is assessed on its financial sustainability, but is not reflected in the 2021 financial statements, as those 3 sustainability ratios are what's currently measured now. During the external audit, Council's assessed on its effectiveness of financial statement preparation process using a traffic light system. So Council's seen improvements on previous year's amber lights, having recognised all green lights across the various assessment criteria for the 2021 year. This assessment encompasses both financial statement preparation maturity as well as the internal control environment. The green lights assessed for Council's financial statement preparation maturity indicates that Council has quality month-end processes, an early financial statement close process, skilled financial statement preparation, use of technology, and resolution of financial reporting matters. The second little picture on your report there gives a summary of self-assessed maturity levels reviewed by Council auditors. So as you can see in there, the average scores across Council, and where our average score sits is the little dot across those, which is in a good position. As mentioned, there were no internal controls or financial reporting issues identified in the 2021 closing report, which is attached to this report. However, one other matter was raised during the audit, which relates to a lack of formal agreement to provide legal assistance to a former CEO. Council considers the above recommendation as appropriate. However, the ruling of the bankruptcy proceedings will influence the timing and terms of any formal arrangements negotiated with the former CEO. Council will continue to work towards the sustainability measures, will ensure financial sustainability statement maturity levels remain strong, whilst reviewing opportunities for further improvement and refinement, as well as ensuring our internal control environment remains strong. A copy of the closing report is attached, which provides the additional information. However, the unmodified audit opinion is a really great result for Council and reflects very well on the finance team and the good work that they have done and the rest of the organisation as well, maintaining internal controls.
Thank you, Ms Bradley. Any questions? Councillor Millwood.
Yes, through the chair. So I'd like to refer to the recommendation on page 53 of the agenda, which is actually page 9 of the Queensland Audit Office report. Does this recommendation mean that Council does not have or has never had any formalised arrangement that supports the spending of money on ongoing legal costs? And if so, are we intending to make this requirement for not only this case but all future legal costs to Council?
I'll refer that matter to the CEO.
Thanks for the question, Councillor. For clarification, I guess the CEO is preparing a report as requested by the Mayor at the last meeting, 14th of October, to provide clarity across all legal matters. Council has a lawful resolution to indemnify Mr Gott in these proceedings, because what the OIA has highlighted there, that there is an increased risk without a formal agreement as such around exactly what those terms would be, and as the report suggests, that we certainly consider that recommendation as appropriate to reduce that risk, and certainly their recommendations about placing key dates, and key dates to review the benefits of this to Council as important to get in place. But this matter and other matters will be covered in absolute detail in the item that comes to Council on the 11th of next month. Okay. And but yeah, certainly. And also, the Queensland. So further to my comment made earlier today, that Queensland Audit Office has also confirmed that the comments that I made at the beginning of the meeting, that I have not played a part in any of the legal expenditure, and that the Queensland Audit Office states that under the current arrangement, it has continued under the current Mayor, not the councillors, because it has never been approved formally by this Council, and that's the recommendation. So that was actually on page 3 of the report, where it says the former Mayor was not re-elected in the March 2020 local government election, and this arrangement has been continued under the current Mayor. So I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
That's noted, Councillor Millwood. Thank you for that. Any further comments or questions for the officer? I'll just make a compliment in relation to the finance team. Today's report is a glowing one in terms of financial management, and this is in fact the 14th straight unmodified audit, I believe. Mr Singh, confirm that? I believe that's right, and it reflects strongly on the due diligence applied by our finance team. Contrary to some negative commentary on social media about how we're not doing things correctly, and the third umpire, the auditors have said quite clearly that the audit is unmodified, and that's 14 straight. I just want to put that on the public record. Thank you, Ms Bradley.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to the team.
Thank you. Would somebody move the recommendation, please? Moved by Councillor Chewy, seconded by Councillor Barnes. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to item 4, asset sustainability, 4.1, page 77. The CCRC capital report, and Mr Sanders will present this report. Morning, Mr Sanders.
Good morning, all. Council is, I guess the purpose of today's report is to provide you with an update on Council's capital works program. We are advancing the delivery of this capital works program. It currently contains 246 projects with a budget at this point in time of 45.8 million. Including some of the estimated carryover. Year-to-date figures are slightly different to what Leah just reported, as our figures here are reported as of the 14th of October, where Council, under their capital works program, has expended $16.8 million, including commitments, which equates to about 37% of the adopted budget. On page 78 of your agenda there's a breakdown of the statuses, or a summary of the statuses for each project, which if you convert those to percentages, there's about 42% of projects that are either complete or in construction, 15% that are currently in the procurement phase or the contract has been awarded, and with the balance still in planning and design phase. To update you on the projects that have been completed since the last report to Council, the Cardwell Depot roof renewal, Tully Caravan Park upgrade, huge success there at Upper Darragee Road, Ernest Street in Innisfail there, the line marking complete on Bryant Street in Tully, Jackie Street boat ramp widening, Stodders Reservoir joint repairs, smart meter installation in Cullinane, Innisfail, the Jodrell Road Rockingham water main renewal, and the Mount Myrtle Road water main renewal. To update you, I guess, on some of the projects that we are working on currently and of particular interest over the next month, the Tully pool painting works have been completed. I understand that we'll be attempting to fill that around the 4th or 5th of November. We've got the Warramie Road project, which is tentatively booked for seal Tuesday. The Tully RV Caravan Park, so adjacent to the Lions Park and Transit Centre here in Tully, some asphalt works planned for the 4th to 5th of November, and some line marking to increase RV parking within the Tully CBD. We have, what else have we got here? The Coda Street footbridge. So we've got requests for quotes closing this Friday for the screw piles, abutments and the actual installation and connection works. We've obviously ordered the bridge. It will hopefully be here. It's in stock. We should get that here early December and hopefully get that installed by Christmas. Mission Beach car park. So we've started that this week. We're on site setting out, excavating and stripping soil today. We do have potentially a window to install the disabled parking within the Marina Lakes facility there in between events as we're getting to the busy time of year, and currently targeting the end of November, early December to undertake that work. Owen Street, obviously that's a big project, not due for delivery until later this financial year. However, the concept plans have been drawn up, and we'll be looking to make contact with business owners in that area very soon to, I guess, establish a communication list for regular communication and I guess bounce the scope off people and get some feedback. The wayfinding signage, my understanding is we are undertaking some defect inspections at the moment. There will be a night run on Friday night to, I guess, assess the suitability and the effectiveness of the solar at the moment. We know that the Innisfail one is only partially working at the moment, so we are aware of that, and we will be looking into that. Just going through a couple of other updates. The Bingle Bay pathway. So we've got survey programmed for completion by mid-November. We hope to have a concept layout completed for late November, early December, so that we can have discussions with the community interested in that project. Penning Park, I'm aware that we do have some unlawful activities happening down there with motorists potentially speeding and some modifications to that space. So we hopefully have a concept plan there early next week to have some discussions with residents down at that area down there, which may include, I guess, changing the priority to people rather than motorists in that section. The Cardwell projects that are funded, obviously we have been unsuccessful, as Andrew highlighted, or Mr. Graffin highlighted earlier, in relation to some of our tenders. That was one of them. So we're currently looking to potentially deliver them internally and start that as soon as we can. Other than that, the recommendation is there before you, Council. If you have any questions, I'm happy to provide any further information if I can.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Any questions or comment? Councillor Millwood.
Through the chair, I seem to be saying everything today. Mr. Sanders, just on the water renewal, that some of the renewals that have been done through Township of Tully, do you know when it's designated for those renewals to now have asphalt or bitumen put back over the top?
Through the chair, sorry, I don't have the detail, but I can take that on notice and find out. I also am aware that our new manager of water commenced yesterday, so obviously there'll be some discussions and getting him up to speed on where the program's at as well. So
yeah, all right,
we're happy to help through that, and he will be attending our Capital Works Group meetings.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr Sanders. Any further questions or comments? I just have a query, Mr Sanders, page 84, on behalf of Councillor Pervin, who's absent today. Has the community consultation been fully implemented for the Cardia Road walking track up to the school?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I knew I'd forgotten one. Cardia Road, so we've finalised the quotes there and awarded that project, so we're looking to commence on the 15th of November. There has been 2 door knocks as part of that process and a letterbox drop to date. There has been a dilapidation survey of fences, etc. in that location. There is one resident we still have not been able to make contact with, and we are also drafting a formal project newsletter at the moment, which will explain a bit more about the process with scope of works on the back of it. So, in short, there has been a majority of consultation done, but we have still missed a few through them not being home. So,
yeah. Thanks for that. I attended the 126th anniversary of the Mundu School the other night. Councillor Pervin was also there. Huge community expectation around the project. I think the petition that came in originally was about 500 signatures, supported by Queensland Police. So the community out there at Wangan Mundu area are delighted about this project for public safety reasons. It's not just about the kids getting to school. A lot of residents use that area, walking on the bitumen currently, for exercise, and they're delighted they can have a safe pathway. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Any Councillor Chewy?
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. Mr Sanders, regarding the survey at Bingle Bay, is that going to be an online survey, and who will access the information? Will it go to a door knock? Because some people obviously are renters and some people own houses. I'm just wondering how we get a true feel for what community wants. Thank you.
Through the chair, I'm not aware of consultation and necessarily it being an online survey or letterbox dropper, etc. But I am aware that we do have an established group of interested parties there, and I expect that will be the first point of contact, and then we'll determine what further requirements are needed there. Yeah.
Any further questions or comments? If not, would somebody move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Chewy, seconded by Councillor Millwood. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Sanders. Item 4.4, page 90, asset rationalisation process. And Mr Acatino will present this report. Welcome.
Good morning all. So in front of you have the updated report on the asset rationalisation project. A lot of work has been undertaken behind the scenes. So unfortunately, to date, we haven't realised as much of the savings as we would have hoped, but we're starting to get runs on the board, as you can see by the report, and there is a lot coming up in this coming quarter that we are going to bank on. So some of the highlights. So there is some changes in the that have happened since the report was written. The Leash Road old tennis courts. So originally there was interest from Tully Sugar in taking on a user agreement with the toilet block there. We have contacted them and that has changed now. They no longer see that need for that. So we are going to proceed to demolition of that site now because they don't see the need no longer. So we have got an RFQ being drafted as we speak for the demolition of the Leash Road tennis courts and the Silkwood tennis courts. We have got the auctions have been locked in for the sale of the buildings. So that has been scheduled for the 24th of November. So that media release will be forthcoming. It's only just been sort of locked in the last couple of days. So that will be progressing soon. And the other thing I wanted to highlight in the report is that the costing, the graphs and the costing that we are identifying there, they are estimated ongoing annual savings. So if we do recognise some of these costings at the savings at midway through the year, in this financial year we'll only see potentially half of those savings. So I just wanted to highlight that ongoing annual savings, not current financial savings. The other things that I wanted to highlight in the report was So we have actually received a submission for the Tully Igloo. So we are from the user groups there. So it is currently under review. So once a recommendation will be provided soon for that that facility, and yeah. At this stage, I haven't got any information yet to indicate where we're at with that one. What else? I think that's all that I had on the notes. If there's any, the recommendation is before you, and if there's any questions, I'll see if I can answer them.
Thank you, Mr Acatino. Any questions or comments, Councillor? Councillor Millwood?
Through the chair, Mr Acatino, could you just advise where the auction will be held?
The auction will be held at the Tully Grandstand. I believe it's 6 p.m. on the 24th of November. The 25th of November. The 25th of November it is. A media release will be released shortly. That will be advertised. So once that, and council will share that through the auctioneer.
And could you just advise me if there was any submission put to council for the Silkwood Tennis Club?
We did receive a correspondence through for the Silkwood tennis course, but once we went back to them with the principles, and they have not come back with any proposal.
Councillor Barnes?
Through the chair, you mentioned the igloo, Mr Acatino. Could you just elaborate on that?
So we have received a proposal from the user group there. So it is currently under review. I haven't personally reviewed or seen that. That is with the facility asset manager at this stage, and he will be reviewing that submission and providing a recommendation shortly.
Thank you, Mr Acatino. Councillor Chewy?
Yeah, good morning, Mr Acatino, through you, Mr Mayor. This whole process has been quite sensitive and emotional for a lot of community members, and initially I personally was hearing a lot of complaints, and I know that the team are working hard, but there was a lack of consultation within the community groups. Do we feel that as a council we have worked better to make that people feel that they're being included in the process?
Yeah, so the feedback that we've got through the discussions that are being undertaken, so I guess it is a hard space to sort of talk when we got to show a bit of due diligence to the groups, and we don't want to publish sensitive information, and we want to acknowledge that we want to talk to the groups first. So there has been a lot of discussions, and we do acknowledge the fact that a lot of these people that we are talking to are they are volunteers, they are non-for-profits, and it does take time for them to process the information, so we are giving them that time. We're not sort of rushing any decisions, so this is why this process is taking probably longer than we first anticipated. We are acknowledging that it does take time for them to meet with their committees, then put it forth, explain all the process that we're going through, and then eventually they are coming back to us. And the feedback to date that we have had with those discussions have been really, really positive, and we're working towards good outcomes for the community.
Thank you. Yeah, as I said initially, it was quite a controversial one, and the feeling was that we weren't responding to community. So obviously that has changed now. It's just taking longer than we thought, our first thought. So I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
Councillor Millwood?
Yeah, through the chair. So yeah, commend you and your team, Mr Acatino, on the job that you've done so far. It has been rather a difficult task, but I can tell you that I am getting some very positive feedbacks from some of the groups that have now entered into new lease agreements and stuff. So keep up the good work. I think it'll be worth it in the long run.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? I'd just like to make a closing statement. I concur with Councillor Millwood. I want to acknowledge the work of the Community Engagement Panel. They've worked closely with you and Mr McBride on the ground at the coalface. It hasn't been an easy process, no doubt. But why are we doing it? Well, Queensland Treasury told us in 2015 that our asset base was not sustainable compared to our ratepayer base. And everybody that involved in these community groups are ratepayers. And when they get their rate notice and compare it with the Tablelands and Hinchinbrook, they always ask the question, why are we higher? Well, QTC identified it, our asset base. It's not sustainable. We embarked on this policy change when we were elected, and I think our staff are doing a great job in terms of introducing the list of assets that aren't being utilised. It's not about bulldozers being lined up to do any bulldozing, and in fact, we have an appetite to replace some of the retired assets with new assets, like pump tracks, walking tracks, etc., etc. So it's win-win for the community. We're addressing underutilised, and we're going to build some new stuff in terms of going forward. So, like I said, this issue was raised by Queensland Treasury, and we could not ignore it. And this council has taken the strength on board to have a crack at it. And I just want to acknowledge the work of our limited staff in terms of Mr. Acatino, Mr. McBride, Mr. Val Madre, and Justin Fisher, who's managing the process, and the engagement panel. We're taking the community with us on this journey, and I think that's critical as well. And I talked to the members of the engagement panel, and they think the process has been very clean, seamless, and yeah, there's been a few hiccups in terms of the early days, but at the moment it's going extremely well, and we're now starting to see some results. And Councillor Millwood commented about community feedback. I know the Feast of the Census Committee were housed in a building that had no water and no toilets, and they've now entered into an agreement for a very small amount of money to go into the cultural centre. They're over the moon. It's got a kitchen, it's got toilets, it's got fans, disability access for a very small amount of money. So we are starting to kick some goals, and again, thank you to our staff. Any further comments about Councillor Millwood?
Sorry, through the chair. Just one last thing. So, have I got it right that the community, there is an opportunity for more people to join the community engagement panel? Is that right?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, we'll certainly be seeking more members to join that group in the short term.
How do they do that? Sorry.
Through the chair, I might defer to Mr. Sadler to provide some advice on that process.
Sorry.
Through the chair, there's an expression of interest process that the manager of regulatory services, manager of customer relations and services is working on as we speak. They expect to be out in the near future.
And just on that point, when we did go to expressions of interest, initially we had 26 members. As they've gone to meetings, their appetite has diminished, and we're down to about 9. So congratulations to the 9 that have stuck hard with the task, but there's certainly plenty of vacancies there, and it's an open door policy in terms of the stakeholders coming to the table and working with our officers to deliver. Okay, if there's no further comments or questions, I'll ask somebody to move the recommendation, please. Moved by Councillor Chewy, seconded by Councillor McLeod. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Acatino. Move on to item 5, planning, 5.1, page 101, material change of use, and Mr. Jones and Mr. Horton will present this report.
Morning.
Morning, Council.
Morning,
everybody. Councillors received an application for material change of use for a medium impact industry for cold storage. The site will be used to store fresh produce that requires refrigerated storage prior to being transported across the state and further afield. The proposed new building will have a height of approximately 18 metres in an area. A functional landscaping will be provided at the front. Thanks, mate. Front of the site, and this will also help to conceal the activity such as the loading bays and reduce noise impacts of the loading bays on the street and the neighbouring properties. The use is expected to have approximately 6 employees and will provide for 8 car parks located at the front of the site. The proposed development will be connected to reticulated water and sewerage as well as electricity and telecommunications. The application is recommended for approval subject to conditions, and I'm happy to answer any questions, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any questions for the officer? If there's no questions, would somebody move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Millwood, seconded by Councillor Barnes. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Move on to item 5.2, page 154, Delegations Report, and Mr Horton will present this report.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just on the last one that was approved, and thanks Council for that recommendation, the approval. That leaves us one lot out of that subdivision that was first delivered by the state in that subdivision. So there's one lot left there that's still been on the books since 2008. So it's good to see that land taken up with that proposal, and look forward to it being built, Council. So the Delegations Report and current application, Council, for the month of September, planning for 21 for the month, under Delegations approved, Council, which we're still faring around the same as last year. Last year we're at 63, this year at 61, so we caught up from the first part of the year of July for the financial year, Council. So overall, in the Delegations of Planning, we had 2 operational works approvals, 1 material change of use, 3 building works assessable and concurrence agents, and 15 concurrence agency assessments, Council, which is really your sidings around your sheds and dwellings and so forth, carports, the front boundary and so forth. So there's a bit of diversity in that. Additionally in that, there was an approval, Council, over at Gundy Mill Road, which Council had to deal with under delegation because of time frames for building construction to start, which is Lindsay Rural, which is a new packing storage shed over there where they currently park their trailers on the end of Gundy Mill Road there. So that's to be constructed. I was hoping to bring that to Council, but it just didn't work out at the time. I apologise for that. Over the 5-year progressive for dwellings, we did 7 for the month. We're at 118 for the year, Council. 42 above the height of 2017 when we last did that. So that's one. Overall from last year, we're 97 applications all up that have been approved to September. So we got 451 there, building applications done, and they keep coming too. So for the month, we got 54 worth 4.4 million for September. Of those total overall approvals. So to date, Council, totally we got 51.9 million for this year, calendar year, and 34 million in Class 1 in dwellings. So the estimated costs around that, Council. I suppose the other big one, in the searches, we're 149 above last year to September on the amount of searches that we've done. So there's a clear indication that people are interested in the area, and we're fielding a lot of inquiries around a lot of different issues and properties. So we hope it continues, and we look forward to see what happens, I suppose, when the borders open.
Thank you, Mr Horton. Any questions or comments for the officers? Councillor Millwood.
So, through the Chair, Mr Horton, do we have any inquiries about new subdivisions or that within the Cassowary coast?
Through the Chair, we have a lot of inquiries on the ones that are approved.
In
different areas around the beaches, and we have inquiries about land that is able to be subdivided as well. So there is some interest around that.
Yep.
Councillor.
Any further questions? Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Last meeting we spoke on the shortage of industrial land. Did you get an opportunity to look into some of that, Mr Horton?
Through the Chair, that'll be discussion with Council moving forward, especially around Tully. So the next presentation we do to Council will be around that basis of overlaying our hazards and risks and working out suitable areas to progress. And the next part will be Tully. We'll look at that, Council, and then discuss that with yourselves.
Councillor Chewy.
Good morning. Through you, Mr Mayor. Just obviously you're booming and working very hard, and I'm just inquiring whether our staff are coping with all this work. Do we have the need to put more people on planning? Because you're the go team at the minute, seemingly. Just thought I'd ask.
Through the Chair, you'd always love extra staff, but I think everyone in the organisation would say the same thing, Councillor. At the moment, we've been down a few. That's due to certain reasons, and I won't go into that. But look, we'll pull together and we'll keep trying to deal with their stuff in a suitable time frame that the public expect it. Time's money, and people want things approved and done. So if we've got to work extra hours to cater for that, we'll do that.
Any further questions or comments? I've just got a couple that I'd like to put to the officers. I don't know whether you can confirm or deny, but the rumours are very strong that the IPI has settled. A developer has purchased it. Is that correct?
Through the chair, we don't know, Mr. Mayor, at the current time. I haven't seen anything come through. Look, I can only look. Let's keep our fingers crossed and be positive that it has happened. And once it is, we're here to talk to them and try and work forward on what we need to do. We're trying to invigorate that frontage.
I just want to give a brief report on the Mackay conference that we returned from yesterday. Queensland councils as a whole pushing heavily for review of the regional plans. They need more land. Accommodation is a key issue up the whole of the Queensland coast. Shortage of accommodation, I should clarify. And there's a desire to have rezoning done. Now, a planning scheme might say yes, but the regional plan says no, so they've got to work in partnership. And 12 months ago, you guys wrote a submission for me to take to ROC, FNQ ROC. Got no support. But yesterday, those same mayors were supporting a big push to the state government to review the regional plan. So it's all about the COVID escapees. They're buying up everything, and there's just a lack of land, and the zoning issue is a huge handicap to it. So watch this space. I believe there's going to be big changes in relation to planning requirements and zoning issues going forward. Bernard Salt was the guest presenter. He was absolutely brilliant, and he talked about Vespa. They're the Victorians that are going to flood into Queensland, buying up everything they can. He talked about what they can sell their home for and what they can buy a nice home for here, with plenty of change in their pocket. So he's a internationally renowned demographer who has examined this issue, and he's warned all the councils that get ready, because there's going to be an invasion of COVID escapees, and they're looking at this area. So good times ahead. The sad reality is a lot of people talked about renters being pushed out and living in their cars. That's a fact of life. That's happening in Cassowary Coast as well. But I think in terms of planning going forward, there's some exciting times ahead. And you guys were on the money 12 months ago when you said we need to change the regional plan. We got no support. Well, we're getting plenty of support now, given what we saw at the conference in Mackay.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr.
Are there any further comments or questions? If not, would somebody move the recommendation, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, seconded by Councillor Chewy. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Horton and Mr. Jones. We move on to item 6, general business. Are there any general business items, councillors? Councillor McLeod.
I just want to say it was incredible to attend the 125th Local Government Association's Queensland Conference in Mackay the past few days. It was exhausting, yet amazing talking with other councils, listening to their struggles and achievements and what they're doing to make a positive change in their LGAs. We also made connections with trading exhibitors, and it was great to hear that most of them know the Cassowary Coast, have holidayed in the Cassowary Coast, and are very keen to come back to the Cassowary Coast. I look forward to continuing the relationships I've formed, and I'm excited to bring all the information back to Council.
Thank you, Councillor McLeod. We look forward to that report. Councillor Millwood.
Yes, through the chair. I just wondered if there was any formal letter or agreement from the state or the federal government about Port Hinchinbrook.
I'll refer that one to the CEO.
Through the chair. Thanks for the question, Councillor. There has been a commitment for funding, which requested that an application be submitted. So an application has been submitted to the federal government for the $6 million commitment that was made. We haven't yet received a draft agreement from the federal government in relation to that application, and the council is continuing to work closely with the state around a number of agreements, including the $6.3 million commitment from the state government. So the finer points of some of those other licences, infrastructure agreements and funding agreements are being finalised as we speak, and we'd like to take a report to council shortly to clarify all of those points.
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
So further to that, just a minute. Yeah. So further to that, at the present time, the liquidator is still the person that is in charge of whatever goes on down at Port Hinchinbrook?
Through the chair, yes.
Is that all, Councillor Wood? No, Councillor Barnes.
Through the chair, while we're on that subject, Mr. CEO, is there an intention to bring an external consultant on board to manage this sewage plant project? As I think this would look pretty favourable, attracting federal money and any negotiations with the federal government, as I can sort of think that this is super important.
Through the chair, yeah, a $12.3 million project, a very significant piece of infrastructure for the region. So there is certainly a budget allocation within that $12.3 million that's currently being committed internally to allocate a project manager. This project needs absolute focus from council to deliver and ensure that we deliver it the right way and without that impost on ratepayers.
Councillor Barnes.
Just a timing thing, Mr. CEO. Like, do you think it should be brought on now, seeing that we're trying to attract that last hurdle, that last federal money? Do you think it'd be advantageous now, or do you wait until you achieve that last federal money?
Look, through the chair, the funding would need to come. That would be an additional position, so the funding would pay for that. Council has resolved not to pay for that through general rates, but we have got a project control team together, a project control group, so this does certainly have a strong focus. I attend that group myself, as well as Director of Infrastructure and a number of other key employees within council. So this has got a focus, but that role would be funded through that state and or federal funding.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Councillor Chewy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In support of Councillor McLeod, I would also like to say what a great opportunity it was to attend the LGAQ conference and AGM. The speakers were informative, innovative, and at times inspirational. I touch base with various trade connections in the hall, and I'll connect with local groups in regards to those ones. I met with people about nature play, regional arts and galleries, and the Drug and Sports Foundation, which are keen to get sporting groups involved to discuss culture within their clubs and mental health and all things that are relevant. And it was great to talk to those people. It was also insightful to talk to other councillors and share stories about each other's roles. I do believe it's important and beneficial for all councillors to step outside and attend events that might enhance and provide an opportunity to learn and grow. So I'd like to thank Mackay Regional Council, LGAQ, and our council for making the event happen and making it possible for us to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chewy. Councillor Millwood.
Yeah, sorry, through the chair. So back to Port Hinchinbrook. So if we were to engage an external consultant, that would be funded through the funds that would come from the state and the federal. It definitely wouldn't be funded through our ratepayer base, would it?
Through the chair, no, the consideration would be we take into council, that would be an additional position, and that funding would need to be offset by the federal and state funding, but that would be a key position to ensure successful delivery of such a significant project.
Councillor Chewy.
Yes, thank you. I would just also like to remind our community that Australia Day may seem a long time away, but it's really not that far away. Online nomination forms are available on our website. If you know anybody or any groups, whether it be young or an older, more mature person that has been your local hero, that's shone a light, it's your opportunity to shine a light on that person or that group. There are various categories that you can nominate people for. So if somebody's been outstanding this year, they can be nominated for an Australia Day of the Year, Australian of the Year award. Or if it's a long-term commitment that they have made to making our community a better place, there is a Lifetime Achievement Award. So once again, I urge everybody, and not everybody can win, but just to be nominated for this means that somebody thinks that you're doing a great job. So I urge our community to get on board and nominate somebody for the Australia Day Awards. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chewy. Councillor Barnes.
Mr. Mayor, while we're on awards, it was a great honour yesterday to do the presentation to the workforce for our outdoor staff. We gave away awards for a 10-year service, 20-year service, and the pinnacle of the awards was, of course, Piero Tenny, who's been here for 40 years. He started back in the early 1980s under the Cardwell Shire Council, and 40 years is a long time to work for one organisation, and it was very well represented by workers, staff, and I think everybody got a lot out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Any further general business? Councillor Barnes.
Thank you. We've recently received a petition from Tully Heads and Hull Heads on the transfer station. Now I think it's time that this organisation should move into a lot more engagement with those farmers from down the Lower Tully area, also Murray Upper area, also constituents from Tully Heads and Hull Heads. I think it's time that council started to really engage and start to get some feedback. Also, another subject this weekend in Cardwell, we have the big Barra Bonanza, and I would like to encourage anybody wishing a good time. There's a big evening at the community hall, and it's great for councillors to see just how many people travel from the Burdekin, Mareeba, etc. And all this will come to fruition when we can eventually dredge 1 Mile Creek. It's rather embarrassing that these people come from all over North Queensland. Hundreds of people enter Cardwell, and they're trying to use Myunga, which we cleaned the boat ramp only the other day. Council's trying its best. I know council's done as much as it possibly can to attract that 1.5 for the dredging. So it's not in the, we definitely haven't got the money as some people are saying. So anybody wishing a good time, that's on this weekend. Also, I was going to ask Mr. Sanders, I meant to ask him previously, how we're going. We've got a lot of projects that are due June 22. I've got a list here. I'm very sorry I didn't ask him when he was present up the top, but I just hope that we are on schedule. I'd hate to be giving any money back to the governments. It's hard enough trying to get it out of them, so I'd hate any of these projects to go over time. Tom?
Councillor Barnes, he's not here, mate.
Oh, he's not here.
No.
Mr. Goodman may be able to answer that.
Mr. Goodman.
Morning, councillors. Through the chair, Councillor Barnes, within the content of the Capital Works report on page 80, right at the bottom there is we identify the projects that have external funding with funding deadlines attached to them. At this stage, there are none of those projects which are of significant concern. There are some issues. I guess one that would be of more concern than others right now, but we've got plenty of time to rectify that, would be the TMR Tourism Balliol Street Cardwell project. The others, though, are well in hand.
Are you happy with that response, Councillor?
One statement he made, I'm not. He said we have plenty of time. Just remember, sometimes it can rain here for 5 months. So I wouldn't be complacent with time. If it means that council has to put on extra resources to try and get this over the line, I think each and every councillor would be supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Any further? Councillor Millwood.
Yeah, through the chair, just want to go back to comment, Barry, about the transfer stations and the the petition that's involved. I just want to remind you that there was a decision of council about what's going to happen at those 2 transfer stations, and it will be reviewed after 12 months. And yeah, there will be further consultation. Thank you.
Through
Mr. CEO.
Through the chair, thank you, councillor, for highlighting that. The council did resolve on the 25th of February to reduce that service based on information provided by officers. Obviously, that petition was a report was taken back to council on the 24th of June 2021 in relation to that petition, and there was a resolution there to review that post 12 months. So officers are collating data, and that data will be used to inform council to make any future decision on operations at that site.
So, Mr. Mayor, you're saying that the consultation's going to take place after the 12 months is finished and not before?
Through the Chair, the council resolution in 24 June was to review following 12 months and for officers to collect data on that, and that data and any future item going to council to consider that matter would obviously involve community consultation and engaging with the community in Tully Heads in particular.
Mr. Goodman.
Through the chair, I'd just like to, I'm fairly confident, happy to have a review of the live stream, but I don't recall saying the words that we had plenty of time. And also, my team and the team that are delivering these projects are very well aware of the climatic impact on capital works projects, and are taking those into account into our planning for delivery. Just wanted to provide that clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman.
Through the Chair, just to add to that, it is, I guess, the planning for those projects, particularly the three down in Cardwell, was sound. It is unusual to, to tender those works twice and see some of the responses that have come in, or lack of responses through that process. So we said we're working on a number of different strategies for delivery of some of these projects, and if that is internal delivery, obviously our internal resources are finite, and that may mean that other priorities need to be shuffled. So that will be considered. I understand it's only closed recently, and but unfortunately at the moment the market that we're operating in and is a challenging one.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Mr. Goodman, you happy with that, Councillor Bones? I've got a couple of general business items. I also attended the Mackay LGAQ conference, and when the stall presenters inquired what council you're from, Cassowary Coast, Billy Slater's name emerged, and as we know, he's been appointed the Queensland coach. Later in the day, I won the QRL prize, and I had a look at the front page, and it says the fine line between winning and losing. Now, most of us in this room are rusted on, and we're well converted to the wonderful passion around Queensland flogging the Blues. But there is a new CEO with blue eyes, and I'd like to present the book to him so we can educate him on the fine line between winning and losing.
Thank you, and through the Chair, I hope that it has the 2021 results in there.
No, it only goes to 2009. Otherwise you wouldn't have got it. Okay. One other exciting announcement is the project at Mission Beach, the CBD upgrade, Village Green. Some have described this as the legacy piece for this council in this term, 20 to 24. It kicks off today, and the press release went out yesterday. We were driving back from Mackay, and we received a call from Shane Knuth, the local member, who was sitting in Parliament, and he wanted the details of the project ASAP. Mr. Graffin got on the phone to our comms department. We were able to supply all the details around the scope of works, costings, etc., and I believe at this moment the Katter Party and our local member are working on funding around stage 2. But I just want to talk about the funding to implement stage 1. As of today, there will be a workforce down there looking at installing 56 car parks, including 2 disabled bays and 3 bays suitable for caravans and trailers. Council is very pleased to begin this project, as it will improve the safety in the area, provide improved access to local businesses and improve drainage. Very important issue, the drainage. Unfortunately, Council was unsuccessful in receiving funding for the 5th round of the Building Better Regions by the federal government, which was hoped to fund stage 2 of the project. There are other funding opportunities out there, including a 6th round of Building Better Regions, and we are considering all options to make sure this project goes ahead. This will be a legacy piece for this council, no doubt. In the interim, Council will continue to provide the community with updates as they occur. Stage 1 of the Mission Beach Master Plan is fully funded by Council, and with additional works now being undertaken, the total project is anticipated to cost $696,000. During the works, there will be limited disruptions to the community with no full road closures anticipated. Works will occur from Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. The project is expected to complete by the 17th of December, pending site and weather conditions. And I'd like to present the sod turning material to the local councillor to be part of a media thing this afternoon down there. So to Division 3 councillor, thank you very much. Turn the sod. Are there any further general business items? Councillor Millwood.
Through the chair. So with our large representation at the LJQ conference, did we present or did we support a motion at the conference?
We didn't present any motions, but certainly all the motions, all 109 of them, were supported by the Cassowary Coast Regional Council. They were all productive, positive moves forward in terms of revision of the regional plan, the shortage of accommodation and other social justice outcomes a lot of the Indigenous communities put forward. We supported all them. So to answer your question in a very short response, no submissions from Cassowary Coast Regional Council, but fully supportive of the 109 motions put forward. And on the subject, we believe the next conference is going to be held in Cairns. And on the way home, I spoke to the CEO about having a CIS well in advance of the next conference to make sure we do put forward motions for that conference. And to be fair to this council, a lot of our time has been absorbed into other matters, as you know. You spoke to a couple of them today. So with a bit of clear air in leading into the next conference, absolutely we will be putting forward motions. Okay. Are there any further general business items? If not, we now have to close the meeting to the public, and the reason we'll be closing the meeting to the public is item 7.1, page 168, gifting of land to council. 7.2, page 171, register of pre-qualified suppliers for trade and professional services. 7.3, page 180, contract Mission Beach Waste Transfer Station. 7.4, page 183, contract Stodders Hill Landfill Cell. 7.5, page 186, contract construction of Barbed Wire Creek Bridge. Item 7.6, page 189, contract Cowley Beach Culvert upgrades. So council, as you can see, there's plenty of productive happening in terms of Cassowary Coast and our engineering staff, our waste management staff, and I'd ask that somebody move that. It moved by Councillor Millwood, seconded by Councillor Chewy. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, councillors, we'll reopen the meeting to the public. Would somebody move that we reopen and go live stream and vote? Moved by Councillor Barnes, seconded by Councillor Millwood. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I just want to make a clarification about a comment I made earlier about 14 unmodified audits. Mr Singh has checked on the records and it's actually 13. So for the sake of the minutes, I just want to clarify. It's 13 unmodified audits, not 14. Okay, we'll move into item 7.1, page 168, gifting of land to council at Meridian Harbour, and Ms Vick will present this report.
This report was presented for council consideration in relation to a request for a rating concession and gifting of land. Recommendation that council, 1, accept the gift of land described as lot 804 on plan M2931 from the owner and commence the property transfer process with costs associated with the transaction to be paid by the property owner. And 2, approve the rating concession for property described as lot 804 on M2931 to the value of $7.9451 for the current rates levied for the period 1 July to the 31st of December 2021, as the owner has requested to surrender the land on the 6th of September 2021.
Thank you, Ms Vick. Any questions for the officer? Somebody move the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Chewy, seconded by Councillor McLeod. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Vick. Move on to item 7.2, and Councillor McLeod was going to leave the room at this point. Thank you, Councillor McLeod. 7.2, page 171, the Register of Pre-Qualified Suppliers for Trade and Professional Services, and Mr Vick will present.
Through the chair, good morning.
Morning.
This morning I'm presenting you with the Register of Pre-Qualified Supplier for Trade and Professional Services. The establishment of the Register of Pre-Qualified Suppliers is an allowed exception under Section 232 of the Local Government Regulation 2012. Council hires trades and professional services on an as-needs basis for the operational works programs. Procurement through this register, acceptance of this Register of Pre-Qualified Suppliers does not guarantee work with council, and local suppliers may be given preference to the contract period. Any questions?
Any questions, councillors? If not, somebody move the recommendation, please. Moved by Councillor Millwood, seconded by Councillor Chewy. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Vick. Councillor McLeod can now re-enter. Uh, 7.3, page 180, a contract for Mission Beach Transfer Station, and Mr Castle will present this report. Welcome.
Good morning, Council. Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is for the Council to consider submitted tenders and award a contract number 164 for the Mission Beach Waste Transfer Station redevelopment. The contract works include all earthworks, the entry and exit accesses, roadworks, sealed car parks, stormwater lines and pits, concrete retaining walls, sewer and water connections, and the supply and construction of a new tip shop shed, including slabs and footings. That is the principal supplied amenities building. I put to Council today the recommendation that the lump sum conforming tender for contract CCW 164 for the Mission Beach Waste Transfer Station redevelopment, as submitted by Alan Sultana Constructions Proprietary Limited, being the most advantageous to Council, be accepted for the amount of $894,590.95 excluding GST, and furthermore that Council delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with the Local Government Act 2009 to enter into a contract, negotiate, finalise and execute any and all matters associated with or in relation to the contract, subject to Council's normal procurement policies and practices.
Thank you, Mr Castle. Any questions for the officer? If not, would somebody move the recommendation, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, seconded by Councillor Millwood. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We move on to item 7.4, page 183, contract Stodders Hill landfill cell. Mr Castle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to again consider submitted tenders and award a contract CCW 165 for Stodders Hill Landfill Cell 1 and 2, sidewall liner construction lifts number 3 and 4. The works associated with this contract entail the clearing, earthworks and drainage works, supply and installation of a geomembrane and a cushion geotextile, and the placement of protection material over the liner system. The works will be constructed as a single contract. I put to Council this morning a recommendation that the lump sum schedule of rates conforming tender for the contract for Stodders Hill Landfill Cell 1 and 2, sidewall liner construction lifts 3 and 4 as submitted by Riceley Enterprises Proprietary Limited, trading as Celtic Construction and Utility Services, being the most advantageous to Council, be accepted for the amount of $1,690,738.86 excluding GST, and furthermore that Council delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with the Local Government Act 2009 to enter into a contract, negotiate, finalise and execute any and all matters associated with or in relation to the contract, subject to Council's normal procurement policies and practices.
Thank you, Mr Castle. Any questions for the officer? If moved by Councillor Millwood, seconded by Councillor Chewy. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We move on to item 7.5, page 186, construction of contract for the construction of Barbed Wire Creek Bridge. Mr Castle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this particular report is for Council to again consider submitted tenders and award a contract CCW 171 for the construction of Barbed Wire Creek Bridge. The works for this contract entail the demolition and removal of the old existing bridge, earthworks for the bridge abutments, placement of principal supplied steel piles, construction again of the concrete abutments, and placement of the principal supplied deck units. All civil earthworks and bypass tracks are included, and the rock protection of the creek bed. It's proposed to award this contract to NQ Civil Contractors Proprietary Limited, being the most advantageous, and so I would put to Council a recommendation that the lump sum tender for contract CCW 171, construction of Barbed Wire Creek Bridge, as submitted by North Queensland Civil Contractors, being the most advantageous to Council, be accepted for the amount of $566,429.50 excluding GST, and again, $566,429.50, my apologies, Councillor, excluding GST, and furthermore, again, that Council delegate the authority to the Chief Executive Officer to enter into the contract to negotiate, finalise and execute all and any matters associated with or in relation to this contract, subject to Council's normal procurement policies and practices.
Thank you, Mr Castle. Any questions for the officer? Moved by Councillor Chewy, seconded by Councillor McLeod. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Move on to item 7.6, page 189. Contract Cowley Beach Culvert upgrades. Mr Castle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this particular report is for Council to again consider submitted tenders and award contract CCW 166 for the Cowley Beach Road culvert upgrades. The works associated with this contract entail making some side tracks where appropriate, removal of existing culvert and end structures and replace with principal supplied pipes, and construct cast in situ end structures. I put to Council this morning a recommendation that the lump sum tender for contract CCW 166 Cowley Beach culvert upgrades, as submitted by QDAC, being the most advantageous to Council, be accepted for the amount of $476,643 excluding GST, and furthermore that Council delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with the Local Government Act 2009 to enter into a contract to negotiate, finalise, execute all and every matter associated with the tender.
Thank you, Mr Castle. Councillor Barnes.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I know councils and staff have put a hell of a lot of work into all these tenders that we are currently seeing in front of us, and just make people aware they're not always the cheapest tender. You must compare apples with apples. So, but one thing I've missed in this report is the actual finish date, Mr Castle.
Through the chair, thank you, councillor. The timing of this particular contract is 16 weeks on site with 2 weeks preparation for their construction and environmental plans.
Happy with that response, councillor Barnes? Thank you. All right. Any further, councillor Millwood?
Yeah, no, through the chair. So further to what Barry said, Councillor Barnes said, I would like to just verify to the community that all of these tenderers have been through the scrutiny of our methodology, and that's how we come to the end result, I guess. I'd just like them to know that there is a methodology that's put in place to actually work out all of the strategies behind who gets the tender. So, yeah, and I'll move that.
Okay, it's moved by councillor Millwood, seconded by councillor McLeod. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I'll just sum up by saying three of those 4 contracts have gone to local contractors, around $3 million. So great for our economy and local jobs. With that, I'll close the meeting at 11:07. Thanks, everybody.